As people began to file out, Deicide remained in his seat. The abyss was still attached to the ceiling, but she allowed herself to pour down and cover Deicide like a topping on an absurd sundae. He was too angry to force her away. The twins turned to Deicide with pouty lips, and the abyss withdrew. They rolled their chairs over and hugged him. Destra squeezed his shoulder. "Why so mean?" Destra said. Deicide was shocked at the twins' feigned innocence. Was he dreaming their usurper positioning earlier? No. He had heard them call him a little prince. Perhaps he misunderstood them, he thought. The girls, and he did think of them as girls, had never been anything but sweet to him. The abyss began to sing in her and Deicide's shared language. She seemed to agree. The twins were not a threat. "'Cause everyone's forgotten what this is all about," Deicide said, rising from his chair. The abyss immediately rushed back to his shoulders and neck. She had switched to a rougher exterior texture. A few of his closest advisors stayed while everyone else was hurriedly ushered from the room. Deicide was leaning on the table as the abyss was arched over him, her tendrils spilling across the table and into the oval recess at the table's center. The Great White, still seated, placed his feet on the table to avoid the black lake spreading on the floor. Cold vapor was escaping from Deicide's jaws. Everyone who was not combat ready or qualified to stand against a Grade 1 eater backed to the walls of the war room. Hellmouth, Icker, and the Great White appeared calm, while every other soldier was wary, as they had all heard stories of Deicide's tantrums. Though liked by all his soldiers, he had earned their respect by the terror he extracted from those that opposed him. "What you want? Another hug? Say, give the boy a hug, will you?" White said. "I won't be dismissed. I'm not a child," Deicide said. "You're acting like one," Icker said coldly. The abyss bristled, and her large eyes flattened to yellow slivers from behind Deicide's shoulders. "It seems you all forget why I was even born," Deicide said. "The mission is to transport all passengers before the collapse," Great White said. "That's not why the Yolopar was built," Deicide said. "We must kill the Pretender." His mentors rolled their eyes. Even the patience of his bigger supporters was visibly degrading. Most had given up on finding the Pretender God, viewing it as nothing more than obstruction myth. "Not wanted you to be a champion. She wanted your name to ring out until the end of time," Hellmouth said. "It will," Deicide said. "Not like this, sweetie," Hellmouth said. "It's risky. I don't think those girls in the Nazareth care about the mission anymore. I think they'll kill us all just to get to you," Icker said. "I know you all don't want to fight the Nazareth. You won't have to. I'll fight my own battles," Deicide said, striding toward the door, ignoring clumsy attempts to converse with him. He explained nothing as he walked toward a major gate station. He signaled to the operator with his fingers for an omni-gate and stepped into it, coming out at his estate on the other side. His personal staff, who had already been warned of Deicide's mood, left him to smolder in silence as he stalked through the halls. When he arrived at his wife's study, he found Fawn bound to a chair. She was seated next to a bleary-eyed Rodella. They were seated in recliners, surrounded by thousands of knots of books and journals. "Take those things off, Rhodey," Deicide said. "Oh," Rodella said, as she fumbled to activate her armband. With a click, the mechanism binding Fawn's hands and ankles came free. "Leave us," Deicide said. "But," Rodella said. "We'll talk soon, I promise," Deicide said, placing his hands on her cheeks. Rodella nodded. "I'll be outside," Rodella said, just as he stepped through the doors. "Let's keep this short, eh?" Fawn said. "And what is that?" Deicide said. "You want to sell me on your great cause, right?" she said. The abyss began to anchor herself throughout the massive library, now able to increase her size to a great degree without constriction. Deicide was unsure of what to say to the woman. He continued to examine the features of her face, knowing he must be making her uncomfortable. "Your brother's a good soldier. He understands how it all fits together, even if he can't say it. But what about you?" Deicide said, moving behind a great pair of desks. "I'm done with this shit. You know what I want," she said. "I do," he said. He looked down at the ground, thinking of how much his newest pair of daughters resembled her. Yes, they would grow up to be beautiful, as well as spiteful. Then why waste the air? She said. I'm not trying to convince you to join me. I just want to stop you from becoming my enemy, he said.